special guest. I have David Waverly, formerly NASA employee, and as most of you know, Cindy Holland, also formerly NASA employee. And we're going to talk about, are there satellites, and if there are, what type of satellites. David's going to talk just a little bit about the South Pole because he was stationed there. So he's got a lot of cool information, facts about that. And we're going to talk about Cindy. Of course, she worked at Lockheed Martin, which an engineer told her what?
That the Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat, straight from an engineer at Lockheed Martin. Now, if anybody knows if the Earth's flat, Lockheed would know. So, David, let's hear, what did you do for NASA? And tell us about your experiences. I know you work for Goddard Space Center. Tell us about your experiences at the South Pole.
Okay, so I actually wasn't at the South Pole because the reason a little while ago is I set this system up, everything's functional, we were ingesting data, we're retransmitting it offline when there are no spacecraft orbiting over, quote unquote. And about 10 years later, I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm looking at images on Google Earth of Antarctica. And there's a big gaping hole in the data set for Antarctica on Google Earth. And I'm like, no, you got to make McMurdo Station all the way to Svalbard. Now, even on a flat Earth map, it's freaking far, okay?
So wait a minute. Supposedly we have satellites. We have all this great space technology.
Yes.
Why the heck do we need a fiber optic pipe?
Listen, that's what I'm getting at. So he's telling me this, and this is what he's telling me. And I'm going, I don't even think I believe that I knew about flat Earth yet then. This is what was leading up to my going, holy crap, we're deceived. So I'm on the phone with him, and he's retired at this point from NASA. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why the hell? He said, well, they opted out to send the data to Svalbard. That's the Norwegians, okay? And that they would process the data and sell it back to us.
What?
I'm just saying. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't it? Now remember, how many guys can you talk to that said, hey, I personally went down there and put it in a data retrieval system for polar orbiting spacecraft in Antarctica? You hear that every day, right?
Wow.
So it's important that everybody understand that you were there to map what's essentially still not there and still not mapped today.
Right. To fill out an area of data, a huge area that was not there. And it's still not. See, here's the thing. He says, well, yeah, they pipe it over the fiber optic network to Svalbard, and then they sell it back to us. Well, it's still a big gaping hole in the data. Hello?
So 2017, we have yet to map a portion of one of our continents if the Earth is a globe, correct?
And we supposedly, quote unquote, have continuously polar orbiting spacecraft. Guys, listen. There's a whole series of spacecraft that I worked on also, called the EOS, Earth Observation Systems. And it was like 5 different spacecraft, and they each looked at different spectrum. One was for atmospheric qualities, another was Terra, anyway. They are all polar orbiters because the whole idea is that the Earth is spinning and these daggone satellites go around and they get a different swath of the world as the Earth spins underneath it.
Right, strip data.
Again, I'm speaking. Huh?
That's called strip data, right.
Yeah. And so, okay, and from a global perspective, that makes sense, right? Okay, so how come there's no data still from the southern part of Antarctica?
Your job was supposedly to map this missing big area, because NASA, if they show a radar of the South Pole, you see this big gaping round circular hole there of no data of anything mapped. And so your job was to map this out. 12 years later, you come to find out that they mapped nothing. It's still the same today, right?
Correct. So why they were going to spend the money, why we were going to go down there and do that. You can find it. It's out there because I looked it up. I wanted to see what led up to why I went there, And basically, his answer does not give an answer because it doesn't make any sense. He didn't answer the fact that there's a big gaping hole in the data still.
In other words, nothing mapped. That's what we call a gaping hole in the data. There's nothing there.
There's a map of Antarctica on a globe Earth. I used to have a globe in here for joke purposes. On a globe Earth, anybody that looks at it, you show Antarctica. When you look, go to Google Earth, and if you zoom in, you'll notice that the lines from data scans, they converge at the middle and they become nothing. It's just white. There's no data. It's kind of filled in, kind of like the guy who made the Earth image, right? It's Photoshop because
it has to be. All right, awesome. Now, David, you, Cindy, and I, we were talking about actual what we would call real satellites, not ones orbiting a ball, of course, but real satellites that actually resonate probably on a frequency perfectly in our magnetic field. They have found technologies, and Cindy, you've heard of the TR3. The funny triangle-shaped spacecraft they got. We have aircraft that actually can hover almost indefinitely in tune with our magnetic field. That's what I'm understanding. Cindy, you mentioned a project that you cannot talk about, of course, and we'll respect that. But they are, in most part, what are really satellites, correct? What can you tell us about this, Cindy?
Well, I have not researched that particular aircraft myself, but I can tell you that the research that I've done shows us that they're satellites that they claim are orbiting Earth are not orbiting Earth, that are never seen in any photos, by the way. It's a really good topic, but in reality, yes, they're building satellites because I have friends who work for these companies who build them. Yes, sir. There are people who build these and work on these programs, and that's not fake. What's fake is that they're being sent into orbit. That's the part that's fake. And so that's the part that we're researching. We're looking into these anomalies because we know that outer space is not factual. It's created. It's a sci-fi movie. It's not something that's able to be. You can't go there. It's just
we can't get to the moon. So, Cindy, let me ask you, Cindy. I've talked to NASA engineers, and they claim, well, I work on satellites. Are you saying that somebody who works at NASA can actually work on parts of the equipment that go on things that are actually going up in the air to hover, orbit Earth, or right along our magnetic field? Because, David, you were talking about they find the sweet spot, a resonating frequency, that they have technology that they can stay up there as long as they stay in tune with Earth's magnetic field. Is it possible employees, Cindy, can build these things, and they tell them it's an orbital satellite, but still be functional and be used for maybe one of these platform devices?
It's hard to know what they would be used for because we're not in the know, and most of the people who work on these satellites are not in the know. There's no way they would have an idea of where they're being used or how their functionality actually works, but they are building them. I know I have a close friend I grew up with who works at Boeing, and when I first started posting that satellites were fake, she was very upset with me because she works to build satellites. I've worked in other NASA contracting positions, and we're all doing something. We're all working on projects and programs. The problem is it's a need-to-know basis. Everything is need-to-know. You're told what you're told. You do your job. You come to work, and you retire, and that's pretty much it. So most folks would never know that the hard work that they're doing is not what they think it is. None of us know the truth. That's what it is. Nobody knows unless you're in the top. I don't know. Probably.
Even the top at NASA, they probably don't know. It's all obscured by fervor and excitement and ideals that most of us were taught since kindergarten.
Right. And these are psychopaths. They don't have guilt. They do not
have feelings.
Correct. They're able to teach these things in schools and in college and all the way up to people who are PhDs. And they know they're false. They know they're fake. There's no proof. It's all theory. But they can do this because it's an agenda, and it goes with their agenda.
NASA has another division that we would call liars and deceivers, part of NASA. And then we have the people that actually do real work and